decided not to play contrarian with AI, but perhaps, just perhaps, challenge your perceptions of what AI is. I think so many people were first introduced to the idea of AI through ChatGPT or some kind of chatbot scenario. And while that is certainly a rich and powerful and exciting use of the technology, there is so much to AI beyond the chatbot. So if you were here hoping for more on ChatGPT and things like that, my apologies, you'll be disappointed. On the other hand, if you're here to see all the ways that AI is in our everyday life beyond the chatbot, please settle in, make yourself comfortable. We've got an hour together. Yeah? Lovely. So this again is what many people think of when they think of AI. They think of ChatGPT, they say, hey, can you give me 3 compelling subject lines for this email? It says, certainly, here's this and here's that and here's the other. A fun use of the technology, an interesting use of the technology. But we've seen chatbots. This is not new. Eliza was one of the first chatbots that came around in the 1960s. And what was amazing about Eliza, they just recently discovered the source code for it once again. After all of these years, 420 lines of code. 420 lines of code for this chatbot. No database, certainly no internet connection, nothing like that. Simply, you type, and she responds, Eliza does. So I didn't have an opportunity to demo this for you in my keynote the other day, but here we can actually do a live demo. If you go to this website, masswork.at/Eliza, you can actually experience this chatbot in all of her 1961 glory. But what's exciting about this is it says, oh, would you like to talk to Eliza as well? Would you like to hear Eliza? You can certainly do that. So you have your choice of either English or English. I apologize. Yeah. So I'll choose English. Fair enough? Yeah? All right. So here we are. She says, is something troubling you? I didn't hear her, but let's make sure the sound is up. As I'm typing in, is something troubling you? I don't have enough dosa.
Do you wish to be able to have enough dosa?
Yes. I love dosa.
I understand.
Oh, good. She understands. Yeah? Now, here's what's fun as well. That was simply speech synthesis, taking text and forming it into sounds that we can hear. That also has been around since the early 1960s. The original Eliza didn't do that. She actually predates speech synthesis, but taking text to speech is actually something fairly easy to do. What we've found are the advancements now in more recent times where we not only have speech synthesis, but we have speech recognition as well. This is slightly harder to do, in fact. Speech synthesis, what we do is we can break up a sentence by the space in between each word. And then we can look up that word in a dictionary, and that dictionary always gives us the pronunciation, yes? And so being able to synthesize speech is quite easy, relatively speaking, computationally speaking. But speech recognition means that you need to take sound and translate it into the written word. And this speech recognition has gotten very powerful throughout the years as well. So as I hold down on the microphone, I can say, I love sambar as well and chutney too. Oh no, I love somebody's violin chutney? I just was telling you how easy this was. Let's see what happens here.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't understand that either, would I? Yeah. So let's try this again. I think people are watching me right now.
Would you like it if they were not watching you right now?
No, that would make me very sad. That would make me very, yeah?
Do you say no, you would make you married for some special reason?
Yeah. We also discovered yesterday when we were talking about Eliza, she is fairly primitive, only 420 lines of code, as I said. A lot of what she's doing is looking for the last word in a sentence and then turning around and asking me a question. So if I say something like, I'm very happy right now.
What makes you happy just now?
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, we've cracked that algorithm. We've cracked that code right here. And so the original Eliza was simply just text-based. What we've discovered is we could layer on speech synthesis fairly easily. And then we discovered, even with a few live demo hiccups, we can layer on speech recognition with fairly little effort. So again, if we felt that chatbots were the state of the art, and that's all we had to talk about, I could end my talk right here. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself. No, we won't do that. We have lots more to talk about. Yeah? But this idea of beginning to talk to our devices. Now, I'm not saying that talking to a telephone is revolutionary. What I'm saying is when your telephone responds back to you, then things get interesting. Yeah? But in fact, as programmers, we have to realize that speech synthesis is a two-line exercise. This is JavaScript that will run on any browser in the planet. This is standards-based technology. No libraries to download, no APIs to install, no proprietary software to license. This code works on Androids as well as iPhones, Macintoshes as well as Windows, as well as Linux, as well as smart TVs, anything with a browser. If we can new up a new speech synthesis utterance, if there is any justice, the second line, we would say, utter this. But we don't. We speak it. That's okay as well. But I want you to recognize how easy it is, how trivial it is to add speech synthesis to your application. And while we've increased our communication channels to two now we have a text-based communication channel and a sound-based communication channel. There's so much more we can do than that. There's so much more we can do with that. Have any of you added any haptic feedback to your applications? Some of you are nodding, yes. Things that buzz, right? My favorite alarm clock right now is my watch. I can set my alarm on my watch and I wear this to sleep. And so now all of a sudden, my alarm clock doesn't use sound. It buzzes on my wrist. Not only is this my favorite alarm clock, it's my wife's favorite alarm clock as well. Because when it's sound-based, it's anyone who's in the room. When it's haptic-based, it's anyone who happens to be wearing the alarm clock on their wrist. Haptic feedback appears all over the place. You might recognize on your phone that as you type, you get a gentle buzz, a way of acknowledging the keyboard input. I drive an EV. I drive a Hyundai Ioniq 5. And what I discovered quite by surprise is as I was backing up and something came into the field of view of my backup camera, my steering wheel shook. That was so much more powerful for me than an audible ding or a beep or anything like that. My hands are on the steering wheel as I'm backing up. When that steering wheel shakes, I immediately take my foot off the gas. Is it a gas pedal in an electric car? That's an interesting thought, isn't it? Perhaps the accelerator, yes? Haptic feedback as well is trivial to add to your applications. This again is standards-based JavaScript, works on any device that supports haptic feedback. This is a one-liner, navigate dot vibrate. And then what you pass in is an array in milliseconds. This says, I would like you to buzz for 200 milliseconds, 0.2 of a second. I'd like you to pause for 1/10 of a second. I'd like you to buzz again for 0.2 of a second. So we begin seeing, as developers, we have this incredibly rich communication channel that we can have with our users. So often I say that my job as the Director of Digital Accessibility for Front Range Community College in Colorado, United States, I say my job as Director of Digital Accessibility is to delight all of the senses, not just one. I think so many times as developers, we're sitting in front of a device with 101 keys and a mouse. And so we assume, erroneously, that all of our users also have 101 keys and a mouse. That's how they're interfacing with these devices. As a software developer, it's critical that you have that input device. Wouldn't it be lovely if you had haptic feedback on your mouse? Wouldn't it be lovely if every time you had a syntax error in your code, your keyboard would shake slightly? There's no electric shock API, but that would really make you a better programmer, wouldn't it? If you got electric shocks every time you made a syntax error. Yes? But my point here is not that I want to abuse you as a developer, although I would enjoy watching. My point here is our users deserve better than a one-dimensional interface. Our users deserve better than a single communication channel, which almost always is text on the screen. That's confirmation bias, isn't it? If that's how you interact with a computer, 101 keys and a mouse, text on the screen, you assume that that's the only way or even the best way to communicate with our users. I'd like us to delight all of our users' senses, not just one. Can you believe that a valid user interface is simply tapping in thin air? Incredible, isn't it? So at home, I make sourdough bread. And so often I have my hands covered with dough, covered with water, covered with flour. And I say, oh, hey Siri, set a timer for 10 seconds. I apologize if I set any of your timers for 10 seconds as well. Siri is very responsive to anyone who asks. So you can see with my user interface, I used speech recognition to set that timer. Can you see that my alarm is going off? You can't hear it, it's haptic feedback on my wrist, and I can simply tap in thin air to dismiss the timer. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. If you couldn't see it from the back row, here's what it looks like. A tap, and you scroll. A tap, and you scroll. Do you notice the little blue hand, the little icon at the top of the screen? These devices, as you do use different senses to interact with them, that blue icon will appear. Now, this is an Apple example. This is consistent on Windows and Android as well. Of course, the colors are different, the symbols are different, but the user experience is identical. It's a way of saying, oh, if I'm turning on voice control, I'll see a little blue magnifying, or not magnifying glass, microphone up top. If I'm using a touch-based interface, I'll see a little blue icon with fingers or a hand. What's especially interesting about all these alternate user interfaces is that many of them most of them are actually accessibility features that have broken through to mainstream support and success. That feature I just showed you right here, tapping in thin air, is an accessibility feature called assistive touch. Assistive touch has been around since the iPhone 4. I have an iPhone 16 in my pocket right now. So we can see this feature started as a user interface for someone who perhaps couldn't use 101 keys and a mouse. Didn't choose not to, simply couldn't. So Apple started exploring all of these different ways to interact. I'll have Android examples that I'm going to show you as well. A number of Google examples. This isn't unique to Apple. This isn't unique to Google or Microsoft. These features are available on all of the devices that you already own. As a matter of fact, tomorrow in my section, we're going to go through that. My session, the accessibility in your pocket. Meet the accessibility in your pocket. You'll be able to bring your devices with you, and we'll explore using your voice to interact with these different kinds of devices. That example that I showed you on my watch is absolutely AI. Absolutely AI. This double tap gesture is powered by the S9 SIP, which is their AI engine. The neural engine processes data from the accelerometer, from the gyroscope, and this is what I think is amazing, the heart sensor. It's detecting minute changes to my movement as I tap and to the blood flow in my wrist as I tap. Incredible sophistication for a user interface that is so easy and intuitive to use. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about AI beyond the chatbot. There's not much AI to speech synthesis. That's quite declarative. This is parse a sentence based on the space in between the words, look up the word, look at the pronunciation, and synthesize it. But speech recognition, that's far more complicated, isn't it? Speech recognition has to deal with accents and different pronunciations and homonyms, different words that sound alike, but in fact are very different. When we start considering the sophistication that goes into something that allows me to say, they're going to put their cookies over there. Let's try that one more time. Come on, Eliza, work with me here. They're going to put their cookies over there. Oh, so close, I'm sorry. But we begin seeing that when it works, being able to say there and there and there really begins showing you the sophistication of speech recognition. Eliza's from 1960. We'll forgive her for that, yeah? All right. So Gartner recognized the excitement around this. And I understand this is dated from 2020. It's 5 whole years old. We're in an industry right now that we might dismiss something that's 5 whole years old. But in fact, this is quite forward thinking. And I don't think we've fully exploited all of the opportunity that Gartner talks about. So when they say these are the top 5 digital trends for 2020, see how much of these topics that we've been talking about right now. They say trend number 1 is multi-experience. Trend number 1 is being able to use your phone and your laptop and your watch. I might use my laptop to book an airline ticket to Bengaluru, but I'm not going to carry my laptop through the TSA line and try to scan barcodes on my laptop. I will pull out my phone and scan the barcodes or use my watch to tap. This is the multi-experience that Gartner is talking about. But what's interesting is when you start introducing different devices, you start introducing different communication modalities as well. We communicate with these devices through a variety of different ways. New devices and new modes of interaction, natural language-based, voice-based, gesture-based. These all coexist. And it's the combination of all these that makes the multi-device experience so rich and fulfilling. We're delighting all the senses, not just one. And while we're talking about user interfaces, how many devices do we own that literally have no user interface? When we put in AirPods, they automatically connect to our device. We can certainly start talking to our earphones, our Google earphones, our Apple earphones, but these are truly interfaceless devices, and yet they're rich and fulfilling to use. So trend number 3 is this idea of using agent interfaces, and conversational UIs are one of these new interfaces that have absolutely exploded in recent years. I almost expect to be able to walk into an auditorium like this and say, "Hey Siri, dim the lights." Oh, rats, it didn't work, huh? This auditorium is broken. But these smart speakers, being able to use conversational UIs to interact with them, are in fact state-of-the-art. In 1960, if I walked into a room and started talking in thin air and expected something to happen, they have a term for that, don't they? Insanity. Yes. But now in 2025, I walk into the room and I expect to talk to thin air. I expect to be able to turn on lights and dim lights and adjust the thermostat and all manner of things. That one-word definition is no longer insanity, it's state-of-the-art. And we begin seeing that beyond voice, beyond touch, beyond typing, even the very act of looking at our devices are a valid modality of communications. This is how I buy everything now. I tap my phone, I look at the phone, and that's my username and password. That's my biometric authentication. I look at my phone and tap it again, and I make the payments. Again, this article was written in 2020. They said this facial recognition is mainly emerging in China. 5 years later, it is ubiquitous. And remember, we said that all of this wonderful innovation, all these new features, in fact, not new. They've, in many cases, been around for years, and they are simply accessibility features that have broken through to mainstream success. Gartner says the number 5 trend in digital interfaces is, in fact, accessibility. That's lovely. That's lovely. So let's see this in action now. We're no longer in the 1960s with Eliza. Let's see what a modern version of delighting all of the senses, in fact, looks like.
Your phone devices, with just your voice, period. It's a whole new way to do everything you love, period. Like this. Correct love.
A list of numbered options.
16.
The word is replaced by a red heart.
Open photos.
Ian sits in a wheelchair in front of an iMac.
Scroll up. Show numbers. 13.
A man with a bike.
Click share.
Share options.
3.
Messages.
Tim. Next field.
Ian composes a message.
Let's try this one today. Thumbs up emoji. Click send. Open Maps. Show Grid. Long press at 20.
A marked location on the Pacific Coast Scenic Byway.
Open App Switcher.
Ian's wheelchair-mounted iPhone.
4. Tap Share. Tap Tim. Tap Send.
Now, Ian rides his motorized wheelchair across a pedestrian bridge over a blue river. Later, he uses a sip and puff controller to ride along a forest trail. Tim bikes up next to him.
Hey, good to see you. Open music. Turn up the volume.
Tim and Ian look out over a glistening mountain lake, an Apple logo.
Isn't that incredible? And this, I'm looking at a MacBook Pro out there right now. You have this technology on your device. It's voice control. If you go into settings and accessibility and voice control, you can turn that on and experience it itself. Again, my talk tomorrow is an entire talk based just on that. And I told you that even though this is an Apple example, I'm going to show you Google examples yet in this talk. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you Windows examples as well. These features are right here, right now, on the device you already own. My job as Director of Digital Accessibility is to ensure that we delight all of our senses, not just one. So, smart homes are an incredibly fascinating case study in multi-sensory architecture. When we walk into a home, the last thing you want is to see 101 keys and a mouse in every room as you walk in. Honey, this is delightful. All I have to say is turn on the lights in the kitchen, enter. No. I walk into the room like an insane man and talk to thin air, and all of a sudden my lights come on and my thermostat dims, and I can interact with my home in a variety of different ways. These smart speakers are, in fact, the gateway to a smart home, not 101 keys and a mouse. This is how we unlock all these features that we're going to explore right now. And it's incredible that even though we have the big three players, Amazon and Google and Apple, in fact, they all use the same underlying technology. Have you heard of Matter? Have you heard of Thread? Thread is the underlying underlying protocol. It's a mesh network that makes all of your devices one. And what's lovely about Thread is this is an open standard that is not just supported, but championed and founded by Google, by Amazon, by Apple, the vendors we see right here. So the Venn diagram of devices that you can use in the way I'm about to demonstrate for you is just one big circle. 100% of the smart devices you use right now, even though the interface might be slightly different, even though the words might be slightly different that you use, the overall user experience is consistent across hardware, across software, across vendors. This is truly an exciting time to be a software developer. So let me give you a glimpse of what this might look like. Let's see what a smart home has to offer us.
Turn Home Sweet Home into your Home Sweet Connected Home with the Google Assistant.
Hey Google, start my coffee maker.
With the Google Assistant, you can control thousands of smart home devices from hundreds of partners, so you can be more organized and get things done.
Hey Google, start the vacuum.
You can also adjust the temperature and control smart appliances with just your voice. It's easy to get started. All you need is a Google Assistant-enabled device, like this speaker, and a smart device that works with the Google Assistant, like this smart light bulb. First, go to the menu of your Google Home app. Tap Home Control. Then add the device by tapping the plus. Next, select the brand of the device you're adding. Sign in, tap Done, and your device is paired.
Hey Google, turn on the light.
With the Google Assistant, your home suite connected home comes alive. And using just your voice,
Hey Google, turn off the light.
you can shut it down. For a list of all the smart home devices that work with the Google Assistant, go here.
Isn't that something? I told you I'm here from Colorado. The time change is exactly 12 hours from Bengaluru. So I have vacuums, smart vacuums in my home that turn on at 9 o'clock in the morning. So at 9 p.m., when I'm out having dinner and drinks with colleagues, my watch buzzes and tells me that the vacuums are starting in my home halfway around the world. We have a smart garage door opener. So when my daughter lets herself in after school, I get a quick haptic feedback letting me know that the garage door opens, but even more importantly, I get a second buzz on my wrist when the garage door closes again. Halfway around the world, 12 hours away. This is not science fiction. This is the reality we're living in right now. So we have an Apple home, and so we use the Home app. And what's fascinating about the Home app is it's not an additional download. It's not anything we have to purchase or license. It's just baked in to every Apple device we have. So in fact, whatever device I happen to be on, if I'm in my office working, I can from my computer turn the lights on and off. If I'm at a coffee shop with my laptop, I can turn the lights on and off on my wife. She hates it when I do that. If I'm on my phone, I can use the device. If I'm on my watch, no matter where I am, I can't call her by name. I won't turn on and off lights. It's 3 o'clock in the morning in Colorado right now. But I'm going to cover her up and I could say, hey, Miss S, turn on the lights in the bedroom. Hey, Miss S, turn off the lights on the back porch or in the basement or in the laundry room. This kind of unified experience across all devices, across all manufacturers, and across all communication modalities is the reality we're living in. If I'm on a device with 101 keys and a mouse, chances are good I'm going to use one of those keys and the mouse to make the changes. If I'm on a device that lends itself more to voice, like my phone or my watch, I'm going to use that modality in order to interface. I use all of them and I change among them interchangeably. When I walk into a room and there happens to be a smart speaker in there, I can simply talk into thin air and get the same user experience, or at least a comparable experience than I would across any one of those other devices. Truly ubiquitous, truly universal. My wife loves this more than anything else because when we're laying in bed at night, she can pull up this app on her iPhone and very quickly scroll through and see what lights are still on in the house and simply turn them off with a tap. So as we talk about these different communication modalities, accessibility comes up over and over and over again. Now, my job is Director of Digital Accessibility, not Director of Digital Disability. I take a very yes and approach to this. Yes, this technology is amazing for my blind, low vision users. Yes, this technology is amazing for my deaf and hard of hearing users. This technology is incredible for people who have mobility issues. Yes, and it's just really cool to walk into a room and ask it to turn on the lights. Do you see the distinction between disability and accessibility? And the reason I'm going to bring this up over and over again is if we tie accessibility to disability, then we're going to miss all the wonderful features. We're going to miss all of the features because we think this is for someone else instead of thinking this is for us. This is for me. So, When I talk about multi-sensory architecture now, when I talk about delighting all of the senses, not just one, this is what we're talking about. These are these modalities. Sight, sound, and touch are the big three we're going to continue to focus on. Do any of you use smell to interact with your phone? No. Do any of you use taste to interact with your phone? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. No. We'll ignore some of our senses for right now and focus on the big three: sight, sound, and touch. So let's explore this once again through an Apple lens.
People think that having a disability is a barrier. But that's not the way I see it. You can catch up with friends.
Ready?
You can capture a moment with your family. Face, small face, focus lock. And you can start the day bright and early. You can take a trip to somewhere new. You can concentrate on every word of the story.
A bird began to say. Jack opened his eyes.
You can take the long way home. Or edit a film like this one.
Oh, it's the different.
When technology is designed for everyone, it lets anyone do what they love, including me.
Isn't that just lovely? The main character of that is a woman named Sadie Paulson. She was a woman in the wheelchair. She was also the editor. She edited this film. She wrote it, she edited it together using the technology you saw in there. Sadie Paulson has cerebral palsy. It's taken away her voice. Did you notice who was narrating this film? Let me start it over again and let me see if you can guess who narrated this.
People think that having a disability is a barrier. But that's not the way I see it.
Who is narrating that? Siri. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about here. So,
You can catch up with.
you can catch up with friends, but we'll catch up with friends later. Thank you, Siri. So, when we hear people talking about this technology, I tell you, I take a very yes and approach to disability. Yes, it helps our blind and low vision users. Yes, it helps our deaf, hard of hearing users. Yes, it helps users like Sadie, who doesn't have a voice, who is not able to use 101 keys and a mouse to edit a video like that. Yet through the multiple modalities that are available to us on any bit of hardware we own, every bit of software we own, she was able to produce something no different than what you and I could produce using different modalities. So the yes and approach is not ignoring disability, but amplifying it. This is an idea called universal design. This is if we can design hardware, if we can design software that everyone can use across a variety of modalities, if we design software that can delight all of the senses, then everyone benefits. Yes, are blind and low vision users, and everyone who just thinks it's cool to walk into a room and talk to thin air. Yeah. So, what we do need to recognize, though, is that this unlocks a freedom for some people that we simply take for granted. When I first started going around and installing smart light switches in the house, my wife said, too lazy to get up off the couch? And now when she's laying in bed at night and tapping every light off, I say, too lazy to get out of bed and turn off the light? So context is everything, isn't it? Our use cases are everything. Let's see what Google has to say about this smart home. Let's see not animation, but some real-world examples of this in action.
Google Assistant Accessibility Videos. Welcome. I am Kiran Kaja, and I am the Accessibility Lead for Search and Assistant at Google. Google's mission is to organize world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. We take this mission very seriously, and we believe that access to information and technology can have a profound impact on lives of people with disabilities. I am legally blind myself. I have a little bit of light perception, but no useful sight. I rely entirely on assistive technology as well as accessible mainstream technology to be productive at work and to live independently. In this video series, I'm going to tell you how Search and Assistant features benefit users with disabilities. Your Google Assistant can help you find information or perform tasks all by using voice, or if you prefer, a keyboard. You can think of the Google Assistant as the brains behind Google Home, which is a smart speaker made by Google. The assistant is what powers the device. Here's one way I use my assistant. Hey Google, what's my agenda for today?
There are 2 entries today. At 4 p.m. you have meet with Jack. After that, at 5 p.m. you have team off-site.
As you can see, it was simple and straightforward. I didn't have to find my mobile phone, unlock it, use my screen reader to navigate the touchscreen, find the Google app, and find the agenda. I could just ask the assistant instead. Your assistant can help you on a wide range of devices, including Google Home speakers, Android smartphones, iPhones, iPads, smart TVs, and much, much more. The Google Assistant reduces complexity in interacting with technology, and not just for blind and visually impaired users. Later on in this series, my colleague Patrick, who uses a wheelchair, will talk about how the Google Assistant has helped him live more independently. To learn more ways the Google Assistant can help you in your daily life, watch the rest of the videos in this series, linked in the description below. If your needs are not met in this video series, please check back soon for more videos with additional tips. To learn more about accessibility features in Google products, please visit google.com/accessibility. You can also contact the Google Accessibility Support Desk by sending an email to disability-support@google.com. Alternatively, you can tweet us at Google Access.
At this point, let me pause for just a moment. I've had people at this point in a talk raise their hand and honestly tell me, Scott, I thought this was a talk about AI. And yet that video you just played us didn't mention AI once. And in one sense, they're right. ChatGPT didn't play any role in that at all, did it? 101 keys and a mouse played no role in that at all. But even though AI went unacknowledged, unmentioned, could you see all of the AI in that experience? It was positively dripping with AI. Starting with, hey Google. That's a wake word. Your smart speaker is listening constantly, but when it detects that particular sound out of all the other sounds coming out of your family, or when you say, hey, Google, it wakes up, and then speech recognition kicks in. So AI is truly all around us, even if it doesn't get called out by name, and certainly if it doesn't manifest itself as ChatGPT. AI is pervasive in the computers that we use on a daily basis. So these smart homes absolutely represent accessibility. They absolutely represent assistive technology. But it's fantastic that we're taking these everyday mundane devices like lamps and garage doors and microwaves and then turn them into AI-empowered devices. So once again, this ability to turn on a light switch without getting up off the couch, the ability to tell when my garage door opens and, more importantly, closes again. This is all just pervasive. This is software delighting all of my senses, not just one. Haptic feedback, speech recognition, accelerators and gyroscopes, and minute changes to the blood flow in my wrist. AI everywhere. AI everywhere. Let's see a more advanced example of what Google Home has to offer us.
Google Assistant accessibility videos. Control your smart home with the Google Assistant. Requires compatible devices.
Hello, my name is Patrick Clary, and I'm a product manager on the Google Accessibility Engineering team. Today, I'd like to show you some features that use the Assistant to control smart home devices by voice. Being a wheelchair user, these make it very easy for me to control different things around my home. For example, I have a Nest Learning thermostat, which is a smart thermostat connected to my home Wi-Fi network. I can control it using the Nest app on my phone or using the Google Assistant. For instance, I can say, "Okay, Google, set the entryway temperature to 75 degrees.
Sure, setting the entryway to 75 degrees.
In some homes, the thermostat might be installed high in the wall, which makes getting to it in a wheelchair difficult. Controlling the thermostat with the Google Assistant is much easier. For people with vision impairments or who are blind, using a thermostat can be especially difficult. Very few thermostats are accessible for these users. In this case, using the Google Assistant provides much needed accessibility. Smart lights are another category of devices that you can control using your Google Assistant. For example, I can say, "Okay, Google, turn on the living room lights."
Sure, turning 3 lights on.
We are using Philips Hue lights for this demo, but there are a wide range of lights that the Google Assistant supports. I also happen to have the Nest Hello video doorbell and a Nest Aware subscription. Using the Nest app, I can assign names to faces and it will recognize people as they approach. My Google Assistant on Google Home will tell me who's at my door.
Kieran is at the door.
That's my colleague Kieran. Since I have a smart door lock, I can unlock my front door using the Assistant as well. Okay, Google, unlock the front door.
Can I have your security code to unlock the front door?
2035.
Okay, unlocking the front door.
If your TV is Chromecast enabled, if someone unknown is at the door, you can ask the Google Assistant to show the video feed from your doorbell.
Someone's at the front door.
Okay, Google, who's at the door?
You got it, streaming the front door on living room TV.
Since the smart home devices are connected to the Google Assistant via my Google account, I can control them when I'm away from home using my phone. One other useful feature of the Google Assistant is routines. With routines, I can have my Google Assistant perform multiple actions with just a single command. For example, I can say, "Okay, Google, good morning," and have it set the temperature to 72 degrees, turn on the coffee maker, turn up the lights, play me the news, and tell me about the weather. Routines can be customizable and can even be set for a fixed time. Hey Google, good morning.
Hi Patrick, it is 10:50 a.m. Right now in Mountain View, it's 57 and sunny. Today, it'll be sunny with a forecasted high of 70 and a low of 43. Have a wonderful day.
These are some of the ways that the Assistant can take away the stress of your daily tasks. For more ways that the Google Assistant can help you in your daily life, check out the videos in the rest of the series, linked in the description below. We love to hear from our users, so if you have any comments or feedback about the accessibility features of the Google Assistant, Google Home, or other Google products, feel free to email us at disability-support@google.com, tweet us at Google Access, or for a complete list of accessibility support options, visit our website at support.google.com/accessibility.
If we scratch the surface on that video, we begin seeing far more sophisticated AI kick in. Again, they never mention it by name. It's just woven into the fabric of our lives at this point. Did you notice that that video introduced facial recognition? We've discussed that already, haven't we? So now as people walk up into the door, facial recognition can come in and begin announcing through speech synthesis who happens to be at the door. We saw speech recognition throughout, but did you notice that when Patrick talked to his smart speaker, the smart speaker said, "Hi, Patrick." It's beginning to recognize the different voices in Patrick's home. So if Patrick comes up, as he did, and asked for the entries in his calendar for the day, that smart speaker now recognizes that it's Patrick, and it won't present Patrick's daughter's calendar to him. It'll present Patrick's calendar to him. And in fact, when his daughter walks into the room, it will present her calendar to her, not Patrick's. Now again, I've had people argue with me at this point. They're saying, "Oh, Scott, this isn't really AI." Yes, it is. But they feel that it's not AI because they're simply using common APIs to interact with this. If you go to Google and you start using the Google APIs, they say this doesn't even feel like AI. It just feels like JavaScript and JSON. Exactly. This is what pervasive technology looks like. When technology becomes universal, when technology becomes pervasive, in fact, it just fades away. It doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's not in action. It just means it's become so ubiquitous that it's just the default. Yeah? So, where does this leave us? ChatGPT is absolutely fascinating, absolutely interesting. But do you ever wonder why so many developers are so fascinated with ChatGPT? Do you ever wonder why so many developers feel that ChatGPT is AI and that AI can't manifest in a variety of different ways? We have a term for that. It's called confirmation bias. If that is how you interact with your computer every day, if that's how you interact with your device professionally, it's easy for you to take that half step to the side and say, since this is how I interact with this device, in fact, this must be how everyone interacts with this device. Yeah? Nah. When we start thinking about talking to our devices, when we start thinking about our devices talking back to us, when we start thinking about haptic feedback on our wrist, when we start thinking about facial recognition and voice recognition, all of a sudden we begin recognizing the power and the joy, the excitement of multisensory architecture. I want to leave you with this challenge once again. I am certain that you are delighting at least one of your users' senses. Can I challenge you to delight all of your users' senses moving forward now? Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate it.